Okay, so today we're going to start section 5.3 for Algebra 2, and that's going to be over solving polynomial equations. Okay, so let's review how to factor by finding the greatest common factor. And we're going to start with the example 15 x squared plus 3x cubed. Okay, take a look at your coefficients first. We have 15 and a 3. Both of those numbers can be divided by 3. Then you want to take a look at your variables, an x squared and an x cubed. You can pull out an x squared from both of those terms. So when I divide 15x squared by 3x squared, I'm left with 5. When I divide 3x cubed by 3x squared, all I have left is 1x. Okay, now we're going to practice factoring quadratic trinomials. Let's start with the example 2x squared plus 13x plus 15. If there was a greatest common factor, we would want to pull that out. In this example, there is not one. So go ahead and write out your two binomials. Okay, what are the factors of 2x squared? Well, it has to be a 2x times x. Now your factors of 15 could be 1 times 15, or it could be a 3 times 5. We're going to go ahead and try the 3 and the 5. And if we're wrong, we're going to have to switch them around and try something else. Now, in my original problem, I have two plus signs, so both of these then are going to be plus signs. Now, just to check that I'm right, I want to check my outer product with my inner product. So my inner product is 3 times x, and then the outer product is 2x times 5. When I add those two together, I do get 13x. So then, yes, these are the factors of 2x squared plus 13x plus 15. Okay, so let's review how to factor by difference of squares. And really, this is a squared minus b squared. It's just that this app does not recognize exponents. All right, if you remember, a squared minus b squared really factors into a minus b times the quantity a plus b. And you could check your chapter 4 notes if you have any questions. So the example that I want to go over is 9x squared minus 100. Well, let's start first by finding our a and b. A and b are the square roots of each of these terms. So the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of x squared is x. So a is 3x. The square root of 100 is 10. So this is going to factor into 3x minus 10 times 3x plus 10. And you can always check this answer by FOILing. Okay, for factoring by grouping, as we learned the other day, we do factor by grouping when we have 4 terms. So let's review this procedure with the example x cubed plus 4x squared minus 5x minus 20. Now, as you start to put parentheses around the first 2 terms and around the last 2 terms, we see that we have the subtraction sign right here. So we need to go ahead and rewrite that as plus. So this is going to be x cubed plus 4x squared plus negative 5x minus 20. And now I can put parentheses in. I have x cubed plus 4x squared, and then parentheses around the negative 5x minus 20. Okay, you want to factor out a greatest common factor from each set, so that's going to be an x squared, and I'm left with x plus 4. And over here, from the next set, my leading coefficient is negative. I have a negative 5x, so I want to make sure I factor out a negative value. If it was positive, I'd write plus, but this is a negative 5, so I'm writing minus 5. And I divide each of these terms by negative 5. That's going to leave me with x plus 4. So I see here that I have an x plus 4 in both terms. So now I'm going to factor out the x plus 4. Okay, when I do that, I take out my x plus 4's and I'm left with x squared minus 5. And this is my answer. Okay, we already talked about the formulas for the sum and difference of cubes, and now we're just going to rewrite the formulas. So if I'm doing a cubed plus b cubed, that's going to be the quantity a plus b times the quantity a squared minus ab plus b squared. And for a cubed minus b cubed, you would have the quantity a minus b times the quantity a squared plus ab plus b squared. All right, let's use the example of x cubed minus 27. And the cube root of x cubed is x. The cube root of 27 is 3. We don't really need to worry about the fact that 27 is negative. We don't need to put a negative 3. And let's factor it. So I'm doing the difference of cubes. I want to follow this formula here. So that's going to be x minus 3. Okay, then I square my a term. So I have x squared. Multiply your a and b together. And I want to do the opposite sign that I just used in the previous parenthesis. X times 3 is 3x. And then I want to square my b term. 3 squared is 9. And I'm done. Okay, let's start on examples now. Example 1 says find the solutions, real or imaginary, of each equation. We're going to start with problem A. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure your equation is set equal to 0, and then you want to try to factor it. Now, ours is already in factored form, so all we have to do is we set each factor equal to 0. Alright, I'm going to solve this now for x. X squared minus 1 is a difference of squares because x squared is a perfect square, 1 is a perfect square, and I'm doing subtraction. So I could really rewrite that as x plus 1 times x minus 1. So now it's in factored form again. I could set each factor equal to 0. And then I solve for x for both of these factors. So x equals negative 1 and x equals positive 1. Okay, over here, x squared plus 4. This is not a difference of squares. What I would do then is I would bring the 4 over to the other side. So I get x squared equals negative 4. We take the square root of both sides. And because I did the square root, I'm going to have to write positive and minus, positive and negative. Now the square root of negative 4 is really negative 1 times 4. And if you recall, the square root of negative 1 is I, and the square root of 4 is 2. So this is x is equal to positive and negative 2i. Now you would want to write all 4 zeros together. So x equals negative 1, positive 1, 2i, and negative 2i. And I'm done. Okay, so example 1 again, and this time we're going to go on to letter C. It's the last one on the front page of your notes. I know it's numbered or lettered weird. Again, I'm finding my zeros, so I still want to make sure my function is set equal to 0, which means I'm going to subtract 5x to the 4th over here, and I'm going to add 2x cubed. And at the same time I'm rewriting that, I'm going to go ahead and put it in standard form. So it becomes x to the 5th minus 5x to the 4th plus 4x cubed plus 2x cubed equals 0. Now I see here that I have like terms. They both have an x cubed. So I can combine those. When you combine like terms, you want to make sure that you just add your coefficients. Do not change their exponents. So that's going to become a positive 6x cubed. And now I look to factor. I have a greatest common factor of x cubed, so I can pull it out from each of the 3 terms. I'm left then with x squared minus 5x plus 6. Okay, and then this quantity right here factors again. And it's going to factor into x minus 3 times x minus 2. Because negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. And when I check my foiling, my outer product and my inner product, I get a negative 3x plus negative 2x, which gives me negative 5x. So I know I factored correctly. And now it's in factored form. Once I have it in factored form, I then set each factor equal to 0, and I solve for x. But I'm running out of room here, so I'm going to set each factor to 0 over here on the right-hand side of my screen. Okay, for the first term, or the first equation, x cubed equals 0, what times itself 3 times gives you 0? It has to be 0. Here, when I solve for x, I add 3 over, and then over here I'm going to add 2. So my zeros are x equals 0, x equals 3, and x equals 2. Okay, again, example 1, problem B though. I have x cubed equals 8x minus 2x squared. I need to solve this for x. Again, I want to make sure my whole function is set equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 8x, but I'm going to add 2x squared to the left-hand side. And at the same time I'm doing that, I want to again put it in standard form. Okay, then I look to factor. I can factor out an x from each of these. So I'm left with x squared plus 2x minus 8. And negative 8 factors into 4 and 2. I want a positive 2 as a result, so that's going to be negative 2 times a positive 4 will give me a negative 8. And when I add 4 plus negative 2, I get a positive 2x. So that's just going to be x times the quantity, x plus 4, times the quantity, x minus 2, all equal to 0. Now I have it in factored form. So again, I'm going to set each of my 3 factors equal to 0, and then I'm going to solve for x. So I have x equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 2 equals 0. First one's done. Now I'm going to bring the 4 over with subtraction, so x equals negative 4. And then I add 2 to the other side, and x equals positive 2. So these are my 3 zeros. Okay, for example 1, problem number D, I'm going to leave this to you, and this is going to be extra credit, so you could try this on your own. I will give you some words of advice. I would first distribute, get rid of all parentheses, and then I would set it to make sure that it's set equal to 0. And from there I would go ahead and try to factor. So if you have this done, or whenever you get this done, bring it up to me and I'll let you know if you received any extra credit for it. Good luck. Okay, example 2 says find the solutions to x cubed plus 5 equal to 4x squared plus x using your calculator. So the very first thing you want to do is you want to make sure, again, that your equation is set equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 4x squared and subtract the x, move it over to the other side. If I have any like terms, I would combine them. In this example, I do not have any like terms, so I'm okay there. Now pull out your calculator, type this into y1, and then hit graph. Okay, so the first picture here is what your graph should look like. And it should be an x cubed function, which we know that already from the equation. So what that means is that most you could have is 3 zeros. And we have 3 zeros here. It is where the graph crosses the x-axis. So right about here, here, and then here. Now in case you don't remember, you want to go to second calc, and we're finding zeros, so choose option 2. Okay, so for the first 0, I went ahead and I calculated it for you. You're going to have to do left bound, right bound, and then you hit guess. And the first 0 is going to be at the point negative. Here, let me change my pen. The first point is going to be at negative 1 9/100. comma 0. You'll find your other points to be at 1 and 1600ths, and your third 0 is at 3 and 9300ths. So these are your 3 zeros right here. Okay, this concludes our lessons. If you have any questions, make sure you come up and see me tomorrow at school. Good luck.